here. All right, so we are really in the thick of things this week, right? You either have family arriving or they're there already or you're heading out to see family. And this week is all about how do you have relationships that really invigorate you instead of feeling like this is a week where your buttons are just totally pushed every single day. Okay, so I want to share with you what was that really humbling experience that I had with my dad. I was away at this Power Pack retreat and I was having all these awakenings and these awarenesses and I was playing big and I was so excited. And then I got on the phone with my dad. And I felt like when I hung up that phone, like all of the energy had just been sucked out of it, right? And all I had going on in my head is like, my dad's such a scientist. Everything's so concrete. Nothing's possible. I had this story going on. And the thing is that we tend to walk around with these scripts for the people in our life, for ourselves and for other people in our life, that they're going to play by this script and I'm going to follow it with them and we're going to do this little dance. And we don't even realize that that's what's going on. Because what we think is going on is we're all living in the same world and you know me, we're family, right? So you know me so well and I know you so well and we know kind of just how we are. But the truth is that because we think we know how people are, we end up playing into that. And the same patterns come up again and again and again. So take this analogy, right? So if we think we're all playing in the same kind of reality, it's like if you think about a movie theater, we think we're all watching the same movie, right? We get out of it and we're like, hey, did you see that? And we end up in these kind of tussles where buttons get pushed because the people we're with say like, no, it didn't look like that to me. And now all of a sudden, we start to feel all wired around it, right? So imagine instead that what's really going on is we each have our own theaters, right? So imagine you're sitting inside the movie theater of your life and you're watching all the characters play out on the screen, right? And you see your kids and your parents walk through and they're just perfectly captured and you see yourself walk across the screen and everything about you to the T, from the way you laugh to what you're afraid of, it's all right there on the screen. And you walk out of there and you walk into the next theater and one of your parents is sitting in the seats there. And you sit down behind them. And they're watching the movie of their life, right? And all the characters in their life are playing out on the screen. And everything to them is so perfectly captured. The way that they brush back their hair or the things that keep them up at night, the things that bring them joy. It's just like so perfect that you see a tear just roll down their cheek because they've never felt more understood. But you're sitting behind them in the theater and you're saying like, I know that's my mom, I know that's my dad, but there's something quite like off. That's a little different than the picture I'm used to seeing. And that's really what's going on every day, is that each of us have our own theaters. We each have a little bit of a different experience that we bring to the table. And then we start to say, well, whatever we're seeing go on, we start to assign what it really means, right? So I'm on the phone with my dad and I'm telling him all these exciting things about what's possible and what I'm learning. And he's just talking with me. He's just talking with me based on what his movie theater looks like, what's going on his screen. But I have my script. My dad's such a scientist. And so I begin to play into that. And I begin to feel frustrated. I begin to feel like I'm never understood. And I have that whole same downward spiral that happens, right? We remember this stuff. And what was so humbling about that is that I realized that I've never taken the opportunity to really sit down in my dad's theater. Ever. My entire life, every conversation I'd ever had was with the dad on my screen, who I saw my dad to be. I never for one moment sat down next to him in that theater and really gotten to understand who he is on his screen. That he looks very much the same, but there's these nuances that I'm missing, these experiences that he's had that I've never gotten curious about. And it really hit me that I'd never spoken to my dad. I'd spoken to the idea I had of my dad. And I'd ask you to think about who is it in your world that you tend to easily get triggered by? Who is it that seems to play out that part? And what's the script you have for them that you could crumple up and throw away and create a whole new realm of possibilities? Because when we're willing to just sit in the theater and just get really curious about who they see themselves to be, what their life looks like, what their world is, it's amazing how fast the walls that stand between us fall. I'd love to hear more about what your experience is. Comment on the Facebook page. Take a look at what some of the other moms' experience is. What could be possible for you if you just sat down in the theater, got a little bit curious about who these folks are, and what would be possible in your relationships?